In Moddio, bodies define how objects move and collide inside of Moddio with other objects. Let's break down how we can use them effectively. So what are bodies? Well, we have three types of bodies. If we actually go to any of these objects, we can go to the survivor and we can go to the body type. You can see by default, most of these will have the default body. Now there's type, and if we scroll here, we can find dynamic, static, and kinematic. Dynamic is usually used for most moving things that we want to use to move. They can be influenced by internal and external uses. So if you have an object or a box, let's say, let's mute that, that you want to move, then you can use that with dynamic. Static is something that can only be moved with a move entity action. So that would be done in scripts, but usually it's something that doesn't move. So as an example, we can actually look at the tree, for example, and we can actually notice that the tree, if we go to the body, is static. That's because the tree doesn't move. The tree is just a tree. It'd be kind of weird if the tree kind of just got up and started moving. Whereas the pig, if we go to the body, would be dynamic. Now, kinematic is usually used for things like platformers. It can be used with a set velocity or move entity action. As a small example, I've set up this very simple platformer that is not complete, but it has the stuff we'll need. So if we go to the bodies, we can go over here to default. You can see I set up kinematic. And if we cancel this, you can see I've created three scripts for moving right, left, and stop moving. And move right will simply set our linear velocity of this entity as 10 at 1.57, which is essentially the right, 90 degrees. Left will do the same thing, but at 4.7, which is left, which is 270 degrees in non-radians terms. And then stop moving will essentially just set everything to 0, because now what we're going to do is in the control section, we're going to add a key binding for D and A. So if I press D, I'm going to move right by adding this script to the move right, run this script, where I press the key D. And then if I stop pressing that key D, I'm going to stop moving. Now, and then I do the same thing for A. Now for all of this, this is somewhat important. For the movement control scheme, we need to make sure it's none, because otherwise this will override what we just did. And then for the movement method, we'll use force. And then over here for the client-side prediction movement, we're going to use server authoritative. And that should be it. So everything else we can just leave by default. There's nothing else we really need to do. And now if you hit save and close, you can see my player moves. A little clunky, but it works with the velocity. Another advantage of bodies is that inside of our bodies, we can actually decide if things collide with each other. So usually if you go to the environments tab, you go to the bodies, you have all these. But this isn't ideal for what we would want, because if you edit one of those, that would edit everything. And that's not what we want to do usually. Usually we would go inside of the survivor and think, okay, I want my survivor to collide with the tree. Well, if we go to the body types, we can see that we have collides with. If we turn off all of these, it would just not collide with anything. So if we actually turn off all of these, now sensors, we usually would not want to turn that off, but we'll actually talk about sensors in just a minute. But if we leave sensors on, save and apply, hit play, you'll see I now walk through everything. I no longer collide with other units. And that would also include other players. Let's go see the bear, try to move through him. There we go. Now, the sensor is also very useful because inside of our script, we can let's create a new script here. We can see that there are sensor triggers. We have three that say when a unit enters this entity sensor, when an item, or when a projectile. We have three very useful triggers that essentially trigger off of the sensor. And the sensor is from the player. So we can use the unit sensor, but this would depend more on other sensors as well. So if we think about it, if we go to the bodies of the tree, this would also have a sensor, right? It collides with sensors. So if I turned this off, the tree would no longer collide with the script that we just made. Okay, and so here, this is where we turn on the sensor of that object. So let's think about that in the player as well. So over here in the player, you have a true or false. So you would want to turn this true if you want to use this player sensor. All right. I want you to kind of think about how you would use that and try to think about an example. So I've kind of done half the script, and I want you to continue this and see if you can do something off of this. It could be anything. It could be create an object. It could be create a string, anything you want. I just want you to add an action and see if you can get this script working with this trigger or any of the other 2 triggers that we looked at. And that is it for our bodies tutorial. If you guys enjoyed this video, definitely hit the sub button down below. We'll be releasing lots of new videos very soon. So check out our channel and check out our website. And I hope to see you guys making games very soon.